In 2 weeks is the day they turned 16. Sweet 16 was close, but it wasn't going to be the same for the family. The Hamato family hasn't been the same since Mikey had run away from home. It wasn't his fault, really. After all, they were the ones who caused him pain. But the family never gave up. They were still on the hunt to search for the youngest son and bring him home. No clues so far, and no place was left unsearched. Mikey wasn't found anywhere. These results were damaging the family further and further, not just their hearts, but possibly their mental health too. Splinter watched in despair as his sons and daughter took it too hard. Kofu was always remaining in her bedroom, crying non-stop as she was always caring for Mikey, and without him, it was hurting her. Donnie kept himself locked away, but he didn't focus on his inventions as usual. He was looking through his camera monitors to find Mikey instead, but he had no luck finding him. Ollie and Leo were in the dojo meditating, hoping to reach Mikey's inner peace, as Splinter had done, but they failed. Raph took it the worst. The glass punch was the worst thing he had ever done to his brother. The memory of what he did still haunted him. But that dream was enough to make him crumble down with shame and fear. But his mind was also stuck on that dream he had before. What did that skeletal pony mean by danger? He didn't know, and he's not sure if he wanted to know. When word of Mikey's runaway reached April and Casey, they had different reactions. April seemed like she didn't care, as she did back with the photo of the skeletal pony. But she was truly shocked and saddened by Mikey running away from home. But she couldn't blame him, since Raph was the one who harmed him. Casey was outraged and quickly put their friendship on break until the red-masked turtle makes amends with his baby brother, and if he didn't, he said he'll break it off completely and start anew with Mikey. Right now, the family was in Kofu's room, watching how the youngest daughter of the family was crying her light pink eyes out. Her mask was soaked with tears, as she hadn't taken it off since that day. The family watched in heartbreak and sorrow of how Kofu was going through. In the youngest turtle's arms was a yellow and red spotted present tied with a bright orange ribbon, and a pizza-shaped tag was attached onto the bow. April couldn't help, but she was also doing her best to hold back tears since she had a close friendship with Mikey. She gently stroked the dark pink masked turtle's head as she felt her heart break at the sight. "Oh, poor Kofu. How long has she been crying like this?" she asked. "About 4 hours is my guess," Casey shrugged. Donnie rubbed his eyes and yawned tiredly while looking at his computer. He had visible dark circles under his reddish-brown eyes, even before he spoke groggily. 4 hours, 26 minutes, and 27 seconds. Ollie sighed at the state of his purple-masked brother's state, and he turned to Leo, who gave him a questioning look. "Is he still trying to find Mikey on the computer? Camera monitors?" he asked worriedly. Ollie nodded sadly and sighed sadly. "From what I observed, he hasn't been getting any sleep lately, only when he passes out," he explains. Leo sighed worriedly and looked down at his feet. Casey and Raph watched how everybody was reacting, not sure how they'll react tomorrow. Ever since Casey started the friendship break, they've been keeping their distance from each other. "Poor Donnie," Raph muttered, when he suddenly jumped at the sound of Kofu wailing out loud. "Poor Kofu," Casey rephrased. Both males turned to look at the only girl turtle, looking at the present she had in her hands. She choked back her cries and tears as she sang softly to herself. "Happy mutation to you. Happy mutation day to you." April seemed to have caught on what Kofu was singing, and realization filled her in. "That's right. Tomorrow is you guys' and Mikey's mutation day. Mikey! The red-headed female flinched when Kofu's shriek escaped from her, and she was bursting into more tears. Nice going, Red, Casey grumbled and glared at April. More and more tears were trickling down Kofu's cheeks, unaware that her floor was slightly filled with tears. Raph was the first to catch onto this, and he almost groaned. Ah, great. At this rate, she's gonna flood the entire room, he grumbled. Leo turned to Raph with an agitated glare before he winced as another wail left his baby sister. He sighed and walked towards the bed and sat down. He gently patted her shell and looked at her sadly. We miss him too, Kofu. We really do, he soothed gently, trying his best to not let his voice crack. But we're trying our best to locate him so we can bring him home. Everyone nearly jumped at the sudden noise coming from Kofu's bedroom door. Raph noticed he was too close to the door, so he scooched away to avoid getting hit by the door opening. The turtles and their friends watched as the door opened up to reveal a silhouette of a person. The light was slightly dim, but it was enough to show the appearance of the newcomer. It was the silhouette of a female, but her hair was much shorter. Part of it was black as night, but underneath was a light goldish blonde. Her light brown and gold eyes peered into the bedroom before she stepped into the room. She had red lipstick on her lips and red markings above her eyes. She wore a black jumpsuit-like outfit with steel-like armor, and a katana holder was strapped on her back. She had a look of sympathy on her face when she looked at the turtles, but it turned into a scowl when she saw Raph. Seems like it came here at a wrong time, she scowled. Leo turned to her inside. No, you didn't, Karai, he said, a bit sadly. The young girl, Karai, looked at the blue-masked turtle with a confused look before it switched into a serious expression. Did you get any news about... Leo didn't want to say Mikey's name, knowing if he did, then another wail would leave Kofu, and more waterfalls of tears could fill up the entire room. Luckily, the tears flowed out of the room thanks to Karai opening the door. Karai caught on quickly of what he meant, and she quickly motioned the turtles to come out of the room. Kofu didn't seem to get the gesture, as she was still crying non-stop, but Karai seemed to be relieved of that. Once out of Kofu's room, Karai grabbed the remote to the TV and turned to the turtles. I was out on my rounds of patrolling the city when I heard the sound of sirens. You gotta check this out, she explained. She aimed the remote towards the TV and switched the channels. She stopped on the news channel where the latest news is being played. The turtles sat down and watched silently, listening to the woman explaining as she displayed footage of a young teenage girl being transported to the ambulance. We interrupt live to tell the story of a girl who was mysteriously attacked 3 weeks ago. 16-year-old Lemon Zest had been discovered in the back alley of a hotel by her boyfriend, Pokey Pierce. The poor dear had blood staining her clothes, from 3 large, unexplainable claw marks on the side of her body and a small bite mark on her arm. She explained that she was at the abandoned parts of the city for a school report, but when she entered the last building, she was attacked by an unknown creature, but not after she snapped pictures of the building inside and a horrifying message displaying her name. The pictures from Lemon Zest's phone had appeared next to the woman, and the turtles nearly felt their hearts drop as shocked expressions overcame their faces. Some of the pictures displayed of a broken-down building that was littered with trash and supplies. One picture had the message written in Lemon's own blood. The last picture nearly had the turtles shocked and nearly disturbed. In the far corner, the plushie who Raph threw out. Pinkie Pie was in the picture, being carried by something or someone. It was impossible to make her seem like she's floating. Couldn't handle the disturbing pictures anymore. Leo snatched the remote from Karai and switched off the TV and tossed it aside. He was breathing heavily from being disturbed by that last picture. The other turtles were also disturbed, but something had hit Donnie right there. Wait, did it say that girl was in a part of New York that was abandoned? He asked. Casey turned to him, curious and confused. Yeah, that's what she says. Why? Donnie's eyes widened when realization finally sunk into him. He ran off to his lab, which got everyone's attention, and they followed him. The purple-masked turtle had his computer monitor, but instead of the cameras, he was looking up something on his computer. A few minutes later, he had everyone in the lab to explain. So what'd you find, genius? Raph asked, a bit sarcastically. Donnie chose to ignore that part and show everyone. From my theory, Mikey is probably hiding there, he confirmed. He reached over and picked up the laptop, then brought it over for everyone to see. There was a picture of a large part of the city, but it wasn't abandoned. It looked more beautiful since it had lots and lots of lights on. According to my research, the parts of New York City were known as the Lights of Silence. The place had earned its name because those buildings there always had lights on, yet there was no noise coming from there. The reason why is never solved, as there were no people there to avoid the creepy lights from continuing. Someone had snuck to the power box over that part of the city and cut all the wires to the lights. But that person was never seen again after that. The only thing they discovered later was the charred remains of a man and a bloody message written in Japanese. Donnie used the computer to bring up 3 pictures next to the photo of the lit-up city. One of them was a gruesome sight of a human body charred and burned, and from after being electrocuted or burned alive. The second picture was a Japanese written message made in the victim's own blood, despite being charred. Ollie squinted his eyes close to read it before they widened in shock and horror. The others caught notice of this, and they knew what it meant. It says, "Don't turn out the lights." Donnie was nervous about revealing the last picture, but it had to be seen. Not a minute later, he revealed the last picture. In it, there was a dark, empty building with its moonlight raining down. On the wall, there was a shadow of a silhouette. It wasn't human, and it wasn't a normal animal. It looked at the body and head of a crocodile, as it had a long tail, and its head was shaped in that way. It looked like it was on 2 legs, and the arms were short and thin, with each hand containing 3 short fingers, each one with a claw. It had flat feet, with both having 3 white claws each. The head was ovoid, with a long snout, and was open to reveal 2 of its front and rear teeth. The turtles felt shivers down their spines as they saw it. Only one thing filled their minds, and that thing exactly triggered them into the rush. We need to find Mikey fast,